Hey everyone, welcome to the Elite Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Popple, along with my co-host, William McClellan. What's going on today, Will?
Not too much, man. Trying to stay warm. We're getting a little bit of a cold winter here. So
Definitely. For any listeners that are listening, we post these episodes, we record them a few weeks before we post them. And we just experienced a record snow storm in Pensacola, Florida.
insane.
I think we got I think the official count is around 7.5 inches, but there was definitely about 10 inches in my yard, taking various measurements. I mean, as a 35-year-old who's lived in Florida his whole life, I have never seen anything like this.
Yeah, no, that was insane. But glad that we're still able to get our guests on and everyone is safe. So without further ado, who do we have?
Yeah, so we got a guest coming back along with another guest who's friends with our guest who's returning, as well as a friend of mine. So Ryan Keesler is returning. Ryan was on episode 21. He had one of our most viewed episodes, so that's one of the reasons we definitely wanted him to come back. And then his friend Nick Gonzalez, who I've also met several years ago at a real estate meetup. He is one of those guys we just become instant friends. Nick, I've given Ryan's background before, but Nick has been in construction for a while. He recently shifted, left his 9-to-5 to pursue real estate investing full time. He got his real estate license. He's originally from Pensacola. He currently is up to 12 doors, and he's really making it happen. So without further ado, let's bring on Nick Gonzalez and Ryan Keesler onto the show.
All right.
What's up? How we doing?
What's up, y'all?
Hey, we appreciate y'all coming in. And luckily everyone's kind of, I think, stuck at home a whole lot with all the ice and snow on the road. So it's a great day to record a podcast.
I'm telling you, I haven't seen this. Is wild to see this in Florida.
I know.
I've been here all my life too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's definitely, I've never seen it before. I remember seeing like some snowflakes when I was around like 5 or 6 or something like that.
Yep. I remember it snowed on Christmas back in '95, but it was nothing like this.
Yeah. I think that was when I was about 6.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It's never been like this where roads closed and everything, but I'm glad everybody's good and everybody's got internet and we're able to record this show. So man, and then Ryan, we're glad to have you back. Like I said, you had an episode that was viewed a whole lot. So we definitely want to bring your star power back to the podcast.
Thanks, man. I'm glad to be back.
Look at that dude shining. That guy's shining.
Yeah. No,
I think I just kept on watching it over and over. So
Sure.
Well, hey, it was like I said, man. You definitely had a great episode, and definitely a great story. So anyone listening to this episode now should definitely go back and check out episode 21 to hear Ryan's story. Because like I said, he started with nothing, and and definitely super successful today. So many rental properties. And then, Nick has, like I said, he's really been doing real estate. We met a few years ago, kind of where first, I think both first kind of getting our first couple properties and getting into Airbnb. So it's cool. It's cool reconnecting with Nick and, seeing him today. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Will and let Will take off here to, start with the first question for you.
Yeah, no, super stoked to have you guys on. Ryan, thanks for being back. Nick, let's dive right in. So this first little episode, get to know Nick a bit, everybody. So let's go. Tell us a little bit about life before real estate, childhood, college, etc.
I'm from Pensacola, Florida, born and raised. I went to UW. I had a scholarship to go to UWF, and get your first place at 18. I lost that scholarship first semester. It was done. I missed a couple classes, dropped a couple classes, and just wasn't a good look. But the high school I went to was like a dual enrollment high school, so I took electronics courses while I was there. So I got hired on by a telecommunications company right out of high school, and so So the college thing kind of fell through, but the company I worked for, they actually paid for school as long as I got good grades. So I still was able to continue moving forward with my degree, which at the time was electrical engineering, and that was it. I grinded at that job for about 18 years. Went to school part time for about 8 years, and just decided that engineering just wasn't for me. I was like 8 years in, and I wasn't even done with the prerequisites. So I swung that bad boy over to business, swapped it over to business, and got my associates and got out of there.
Hey man, no, that definitely sounds more like me. Except they didn't want me to ever come back to the school again. That's kind of how it worked in my situation. So, but Will's the scholar between the two of us.
It's funny. I changed schools too.
Yeah. So yeah, we had to have some balance in our partnership. But yeah, I can definitely relate to the school problems.
Yeah, for sure.
Knowing all of us, yeah, Will's the one who graduated. I know that.
Yeah.
He's the smart
one. You heathens.
I know. So Nick, So what about when you were younger? Were you always wanting to go engineering? Did you have aspirations in real estate? Kind of let us know about Nick growing up, and then tell us a little bit about the telecommunication job. Let the listeners know a little bit. You said you're there for 18 years. So
yep.
Yeah.
So I never even thought about real estate, honestly. Like, I just had family members saying, don't rent, don't throw your money away. And so that was always in the back of my head, is like to own a home. And but I mean, as for like owning multiple properties, and these same people were also saying don't have rentals. So
sure.
You know what I mean? So I mean, that was never the plan. But the job, I worked at Cox Communications as a technician. So I was just out in my truck all day, every day. I started off as doing like installs and troubleshootings in people's homes. And then I moved on to plant maintenance, is where I'm in the big boom truck as a lineman. And I would just work, 9 to 5. And then if I was on call, it was 24 hours a day. And so I'd go out for storms or neighborhood outages and that kind of stuff. Cut fibers. Car wrecks, cars like to hit telephone poles and stuff like that. Yeah. So that was that job.
Yeah,
it was a good job.
Yeah.
So who was it that I'm gonna ask it 2 questions. I always ask who inspired you to get real estate, but also at the same time, when did you and Ryan meet? So I want to hear both those things.
Are you saying like with the people that are telling me to buy, or you're talking about fast forward when I started dipping my toe and actually?
Yeah, because actually, I remember whenever I met you, you were still working with Cox, but I believe you were also really utilizing that job to kind of drive for dollars a bit.
Yeah.
Too, and so that. So I definitely wanted to get that out there to the audience, because, like I said, when you have a job that makes you have to be mobile, a lot of people, don't think beyond their job, and you totally use that like, well, I'm gonna get paid to do this job, and at the same time, I'm gonna keep my eye out for some phenomenal deals, and I just want to make sure that was put out there for the audience, because like a lot of times people think, oh, I'm in this job and that's all I can do. They're not thinking like, well, I'm in this job, what else can I be doing at the same time? that doesn't doesn't take away from the job, and doesn't cost me anything.
Right.
I know you nailed it with that.
I can't remember when. I don't remember quite when like the thought of the idea popped up. Maybe it was about when I met Ryan. Ryan and I met at the gym.
I remember it. Yeah, you do? I remember. Yeah,
When was it, Ryan?
So Nick and I went and we met at the gym, and we hung out a few times. We were grabbing coffee because he worked on the road and I am in outside sales. And he had a lot in Pensacola. He had bought his house, and he had his original house. So he kept on saying that he needed to build on that lot. I remember exactly when it was.
Damn. Okay. All right. So backstory is I got the job at Cox Communications, and I was working there. And then my uncle built houses in Pensacola. And then that was, I don't want to rent. So he was like, I'll build you a house. And so my first house was in Pensacola I built it when I was 22. And then the job moved me to Fort Walton, and I rented for a year, and I didn't want to rent anymore. And I was like, I wonder if I can buy me a fixer upper and just live in it while I fix it. And so that's how I got the second house. And then the lot, it was just in my dad's neighborhood, and some old man owned it, and someone's like, buy property. And I was like, all right. And I offered to do like 7,000, and he took 8. And I bought that property, and it's sat probably, I don't even know how long, 7, 8 years. And then just talking with Ryan.
What's it worth? What's it worth right now?
I built a house on it.
Nice.
And
with a lot more than $8,000.
Way more. And so it was built back in 2019, and I think it cost me right around 120 to build it.
Wow.
And the same naysayers from the beginning were like, don't rent that thing, sell it. You'll make 20, 30, 40 grand. And I was like, I'll hold it, let it appreciate, and then I'll rent it, and I'll still get that money back and then some. And so fast forward, now it's worth 260s, I think.
Nice.
Last time I checked, and it's still rented, and it stays rented. And I probably I think I clear like 500, 600 a month in the green with rental income too.
Beautiful rental.
There's a running joke in Nick's. There's a running joke in Nick's family where his housing just gets like worse and worse as he gets older. He just
yeah. They're like, what happened? They're like, your first house is a brand new house. And I was like, well, where do you go from there? So then I move into a crappier house, and I slowly fix it up. And then I'm like, well, I'm done with this house. Let me just buy another crappy house and then live in it and fix it up. And then it's just a running joke. They're like, the next house is going to be a tent. I'm like, maybe.
So when you do these live-in flips, how do you normally purchase them? Do you go through conventional financing and put like 5%?
At the beginning, I did. I had the W-2, and then once I could prove to the bank that the other property was rented, they, like I said, they were completely fine with financing me for another property. Yeah. And then I would just do that. And the goal wasn't ever to rent. Like the second house, which was in Fort Walton, I was going to flip it, and I just ended up living in it for 10 years. So, it just, oops.
Right. Oops. Well, I think that's another good, just a good tidbit for people that are wanting to get, their foot into real estate is that, a lot of people, think that, they gotta buy the perfect house to go live in, or that they need to, go buy a rental property separately. But one of the most affordable ways to get a rental is to go do a live-in flip, where you can go buy it with some low money down conventional or FHA financing, get in there, do some improvements. I always tell people you get the most bang for your buck if you improve the, bathrooms and kitchens. So if you can do some upgrades in the bathrooms and kitchens, usually you can cause some forced appreciation, which then creates that leverage where you can then refinance your way out of it.
That's it.
I think the live-in flip model is a great way for anybody to like kind of get in, for their first home. So was it a conversation with Ryan that got you to not turn into like, what you are now as an actual real estate investor, or what flipped it? Is I know Ryan says he remembers it like it was yesterday.
It was just it. I remember the hangouts and the beer. It was good times. But we just fueled each other's fire. It's like, we should do this, or I want to do this, and then the gears just kept turning, and we kept just soundboarding off each other, and then we just started talking. Move! I keep messing with my dog over here. My dog keeps messing with me. Behave. And so we just started looking at properties together, and just like what if, and this and that, and just. As we continued to, like, our friendship grew, so did our knowledge of real estate. See, at the beginning, I didn't have any capital, so these live-in flips, I was just doing all the work myself. And it would take forever, but, sweat labor, sweat equity, And so as I grew, I could slowly start hiring and subbing out and everything else. But at the beginning, I didn't have any money. My job was like a 50-something K a year job. I wasn't making like 100-something K a year. I was just living frugally and just doing my best to make, smart decisions financially.
I think that's a golden nugget right there. A lot of
Definitely.
people, you don't have to have this crazy W-2 to get started. You don't have to have a lot of money. It's a lot easier to cut expenses and have leftover income than trying to create a side hustle that's going to make all this extra money. So I think that's a really great point that you make there is, hey, I was working hard, I lived frugally, and then I was able to do some of the work myself. Kind of diving a little deeper into Sam's question, how do you get financing for some of the listeners on a house that, needs some work? It's a little ugly, or needs, needs some sprucing up.
I didn't learn about like DSCR loans and any of those, or hard money, probably in 2 years ago, Ryan, maybe.
Yeah,
like when
recently. Yeah, I don't think you did that
fairly
until
recent.
you did. Yeah, the duplex. Yeah.
So for the listeners, in 2 years, you really scaled. Now you have 12 doors, learning about alternative. That's pretty incredible.
So that I can't remember what kind of loan the bank offered, but it was still whenever I bought the Fort Walton house, that was the first live-in flip. It was a program at the bank because the house absolutely would not pass inspection for conventional financing. It was like a program at the bank. It's a well-known program. I can't remember what the heck it's called.
Was it a variation of an FHA loan that kind of gave you gives you a little bit of a renovation budget?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, look, I'm not
exactly
a
what it was.
or anything, but so definitely everyone do the research, contact, your lender. But there is an FHA program out there that I believe will give you up to $35,000 of your renovation budget. Don't quote me on that exact number. I'm just trying to put knowledge out there so people know to go out there and ask their lender, about
it. Right, yeah.
Is it a 403B loan?
Very cool. There's variation. Like the most streamlined would be a 203K rehabilitation mortgage insurance program type. And we can link that right now. I'm just reading that directly off of HUD. And you can get permits, home buyers, and homeowners to finance up to $75,000 into
better than I thought.
Even better. Yeah. I wish I could remember the exact one, but we're talking 11, 12 years ago.
Right.
Sure.
But Deb, like I said, that's I think definitely something great to put you out there because there's so many more people that can relate to your story that, hey, I'm working this job. I'm making a good salary, but not like a great salary, but I'm living, I'm surviving. And but I'm trying to get more. I'm trying to figure out how I can get that next little bit in my life. And you really showed how you can just capitalize on that and then just slow build and then move on to the next one. I think that's awesome because, like I said, so many people can relate. Like I said, to wanting to buy property, but then you're working within the confines of a W-2.
And just to Ryan's point, I think he has a program that he mentioned too. We've had a couple lenders on some previous episodes. So you guys should definitely listen. And they really stress the importance of asking the question, shopping different product types. I think we even have an episode that we recorded where they even have special assistance programs for people that make X amount of dollars. There's special assistant programs for like community service members. I think we were talking about police officers, firemen.
Like a first responders.
First responders.
That usually get that. There's some assistance programs for them. There's also usually some assistance programs for teachers, stuff like that. Yeah, if anyone listening has a job where they're kind of working in the community, being employed by the county, city, or state, those people, you typically have a lot of program options for down payment assistance.
And even if you don't, find a good loan officer who can make something creative that might not be necessarily hard money, but you qualify for it. So I think that's really, really awesome. Nick, we're going to kind of round this episode to kind of tee you guys up in the business operations for that next episode, kind of have a round table. So just give a quick little overview of life today. You're now ex W-2 employee, your investments, time in real estate? Like, what does that look like right now?
A lot of downtime if I allow it. A lot of downtime. It could spiral quickly if I don't stay on myself. But I'm working towards my builder contractor's license right now because I want to get into building. I want to get into trying to build some starter homes.
Excited.
And so that's what I'm working towards right now. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then what about you and Ryan's relationship? How does you guys business partners?
It's over. No, we've talked about doing business since we met, and just the opportunity hasn't came up yet, but we're absolutely going to.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Ryan has a tough business partner that it's hard to get in with Ryan. His other partner keeps a lot of people out.
It's a
The enforcer.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'm just playing. Ryan's partner is his wife, and they do a phenomenal job together. So I was just having some fun with my boy Ryan over here.
Okay. No, she's a tough cook. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But post W-2, it's just I'm focusing on that. Trying to just enjoy life because I grinded for quite a few years working that W-2, and then nights and weekends I was working renovating the property that I was living in at the time. So now it's just trying to let everything settle, trying to rebalance life, and just try to enjoy life instead of 80% work, 20% possibly sleep. I'm trying to knock that 80 down a little more, I hear that. Quality of life.
Definitely a good plan. But for our listeners, what was all that grind worth it to be able to now take that break?
Absolutely. It's like, oh, the weekend's coming, and I'm just like, those are just normal days to me now. You know what I mean? Because my weekend could be Monday, Tuesday, it could be Wednesday, Thursday. It's just I have the freedom now to pick and choose. It's wonderful. The goal was never to be rich; it was the financial freedom.
That's great. No, that's definitely been one of my goals too. I've definitely I've had people joke about some of my I live in a decent house right now, but I've had people definitely joke about some of the places I've lived while trying to save money. One of my ex-girlfriends called my place two houses ago the trap house because she was sure I lived in a neighborhood that definitely.
That's hilarious. Been there.
So.
This house I'm in now that I had it completely gutted except like the master wing, and then I have a couch in the master wing, and I just stay in the master wing. And somebody had to let my dog out something for me, and they started calling it the trap house because the kitchen, the living room, just everything is empty and just gutted.
Yeah. No,
might have been Ryan.
I'm not gonna not say that. Yeah, him and his cabinet. It's like a cabinet with a stove.
Essentials.
That's it. Bare minimum, baby. Bare minimum. And that's one thing too, is like some people have to understand sometimes you have to there's got to be some sacrifice. Not always.
Sure.
But if you can sacrifice now for the comforts of later, that's where it's at.
I've always said that sometimes you got to take a step down to take a couple steps up.
There's one house like over on Central where you had to be a primary. It had to be your primary. So Nick actually used a HELOC, bought that joker cash. It was total fixer upper, and now that thing it's a solid rental for him. And he had to go.
You're the one that told me about that place. You were like, come check out this townhouse. And you're like, this is a solid deal. And I was like, all right, I'll go look at it. And I got a HELOC letter that came in the mail. And I used to crumble those up and throw them away. But this one time, like days before Ryan told me about that property, I was about to throw it away. And I'm like, let me look into this. And I just decided, I was like, let me apply for this HELOC. And I think they approved me for like 90-something thousand because that live and flip the equity just climbed over the years. And so Ryan didn't buy it because it was a requirement that it had to be your primary.
Mm-hmm.
And so he told me about it, and I was like, I'll go live in that thing. So sure enough, I had a roommate at the time that was living with me in my house, and I said, hey, take care of the house. I'll be back in like 8 months. And I went and lived in that townhouse and renovated it. And then I refinanced it, BRRR'd out of it. Even though I didn't know what BRRRR was back then, but I refinanced it, cashed out, put a tenant in it, and then came back to the house.
I think that's amazing. And I think you make a great point there. I didn't know what refinancing was, and we kind of brushed through it. So if people haven't listened to any past episodes, you used a HELOC. So a home equity line of credit. If you guys want to talk a little bit about why that was beneficial and maybe why you didn't tear this one up this one time. And obviously we got the end of the story. I gave you another rental, which is amazing. Yeah. And then how you kind of refinanced that through, because I think that might be an option of someone who has one that maybe can't get to two or doesn't know how.
Right. I honestly don't know why I didn't tear that up. Me and Ryan were just constantly talking and just the gears are starting to turn about just trying to get creative with financing instead of like using the traditional channels. And I know like I kind of consider a HELOC more of a traditional channel now, especially compared to like DSCR and hard money. But as we were just discussing just other ways to grow, I was just like, well, let me look into this HELOC. And like, what is it? And then, I called the bank and, they kind of explained everything to me, what it was. And I was like, oh, okay. You're using my equity as like basically a credit card almost.
Right.
Well, and honestly, there's two things that I love about using a HELOC that is just like game changer. Because one, they'll give you a HELOC for free. If I go to a mortgage and I get a 30-year fixed on my house, I got all these closing costs. So usually the bank will just roll that HELOC. They'll just roll all that cost and give it to me for nothing, right? And then, so that's the cool thing is like I get this access to a huge amount of money. And then the second part of that is when I go to buy a house, I can write a check and just wire the money, and I don't have to get an inspection. I don't have to get a survey. I don't have to get a termite bond. I don't have to do shit.
Basically. Yeah, for just kind of add in what you're saying. When you're in that position, it works the same as cash. So you can make a cash offer, and you have access, to the equity in your thing. And the other thing I think is great about HELOC for anyone listening is that the interest you're charged. It's the payments are pretty much interest only unless you want to pay back.
Oh, that's right.
So that's like another advantage. That's interest only payments unless you want to pay down principal. And you're only charged that interest based on what you're using. So just for example, you have $100,000 HELOC, you're only using 50,000 of it. You're only paying the interest only payment on that 50,000 you're currently used. So a lot of great reasons to utilize a HELOC. And just to back up a little bit, what Nick was saying, talking about BRRRR, in case anyone hasn't heard the term BRRRR before, I know we've used it before, but BRRRR is an acronym. It's a B and 4 R's. Stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. So basically, Nick used his HELOC to buy a property like cash, was able to fix it up, and then eventually was able to put a tenant in there and then go back to the bank and get a long-term mortgage on it that gave him all his money back. And then he had all the money back again to be able to do it again.
And the cool thing is on that refinance, since he lived there, he didn't have to pay a premium for that note. He got all the benefits of it being his primary when he did it.
Totally.
So it saved him a lot of money on the back end. If anyone's listening to this and they're thinking about buying a house, if you go buy a house for $100,000, by the time you get your first mortgage statement, it's probably $110,000, $115,000 because they roll in all the insurance, all the title, everything. So you probably have $8,000 to $10,000 in just administrative costs to getting a mortgage, where when your cost out of pocket to get that, buy that property is, taxes, it's very title insurance, maybe, $1,000, $1,500, to just complete the transaction.
No, I think this is really useful talking about a lot of these, like you said, not as creative options as maybe we thought back in the day. This is something that you can free up cash, you have equity, boom, you're kind of rolling it. I love that, kind of like a credit card. I think that's awesome. We're also going to take a step back there before we transition into this next episode. we've heard a couple times mentioning about DSCR loans. So Ryan gave some pretty good examples of why he loves a home equity line of credit. And I'm sure both Nick and Ryan love a DSCR loan. And for those that don't know about that, again, we've had a couple episodes with some loan officers. Those are debt service coverage ratio mortgages. So tell us a little bit about how that's benefited you guys and allowed you maybe to scale.
You first, Ryan, or me?
You go.
Okay. Yeah. Just my credit was starting to get taxed so much because everything, this is towards the beginning when I didn't know about too much about like liability. And so I was everything was going in my name. I wasn't using LLCs. I was just using Nick Gonzalez, and all the properties were on his name. But eventually, the debt to income gets too high, or, just capital starts to run out, either or. And I can't remember. I'm sure it was with Ryan. We learned about DSCR, stumbled across it, and then the fact that you can use, basically it's just business credit. I was just getting introduced to business credit, and at the time I didn't understand. I still didn't see it as a business.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, oh, I have these properties, and I'm going to hold them, and they're just rentals, and they're bringing me income. I had this conversation with Ryan not too long ago that I didn't realize what I was doing was actually a business until probably about a year ago. And I was like, oh, wait, this is a business. I got to start thinking about this like a business. Long answer, but the DSCRs opened up the door to more financing, to where it was taking my debt to income ratio off the table. And with DSCRs, most of the banks or the loan officers, they want to make sure you got a track record in real estate with either a couple flips or a couple rentals or something, in which I did. So they had no problem approving me for finances.
Yeah, once they see that you've got a couple of houses, they're like, oh yeah, you're in. And so the cool thing is like, especially in the areas that we buy in, if you find a deal, like, a lot of times, so a hard money lender, if you're like working with a little bit of money, like I don't like throwing around hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's just not me. But if you want to, say get like a property for 60,000, right? Well, if it's a fixer upper, well, a hard money lender doesn't like it. And then, but you have such a big spread on the backside. So, the DSCR is great because once you refinance out of it, a lot of times you get more money than what you actually have in the property, and so I've kind of ran over the numbers, like where I bought one townhome for like 56,000, and I renovated it for like 24, and then they appraised it and they go, well, it's worth 156,000, right? Well, the guy goes, how did that happen? I'm like, man, it was just a great deal, I guess. He's like, this doesn't happen. Yeah, they're like, and so, and those are kind of like, the deals that I like doing, because if I can get a place and get all my money back, and actually, like, I think I walked with maybe an extra like 5,000 or 7,000 more on the refinance than what I actually put into it. So
that's called a perfect burr.
That's right. That's right.
A perfect burr to me is you get all your money back with a little bonus money.
I don't know about you, Sam. It sounds like, and Ryan, it sounds like you just got paid for a good job. I don't know.
That's right.
Yeah. Every month I get paid for that same job.
Right. Like, here's some money for you to own this property. Here, take it.
Well, and for everyone listening, that this is what's so great about the burr method, is because, like, if not that I'm telling Ryan to leave the property in default or anything by any means, definitely do not do that. But if he did, what's he losing? He's coming out 5-6 grand ahead. Like he got all his money back out of it. So this is like, when it comes to investing, when investments become perfect is when you got all your capital back, and then you're still earning, and then you still have opportunity to earn on top of that. And I mean, that's what a perfect.
That's a good point. That's a real good point.
Is because all his capital.
Like, what are you afraid of?
He already made a profit, And then now, if you count the additional profit in terms of the equity that's still in the home, that's now added to his net worth, which, if he only took that much out of the 156, he left more than 30% equity in there. So it's like I said, these are all the things that really make a BRRRR one of the greatest investment strategies in real estate. Because, like I said, you get all your money back on the front end. What's the downside? It's you pretty much you've eliminated the downside once you come back with all your investment money.
I would argue dealing with a tenant for 30 years. That's the downside.
Good point. You got a good point. But hey, if you walked away, you already got a $5,000. You already have $5,000. So,
yeah. I mean, if you get sick of it, you just sell it. But still,
exactly, and you'll get a big closeout check. So
that's it.
I think that's good. And no, I think, Will, I don't know about you. I think this is kind of a good time to transition into the meat and potatoes.
Yeah. I did want to add one thing. If you don't mind.
For sure.
It's just for everyone listening. It's just when you go into these houses, if you're going to live in them for a year or live in flip or something, you just got to try to separate your personal feelings from it. Like when I went into all these houses, I knew it wasn't my forever home.
Sure.
I didn't look at it like, oh, well, I don't like that closet. It's too small, or this or that. The bathroom's too small. It's like, I didn't go into them like that because I know it's not my forever home. Mm-hmm. It's just a stepping stone, and that really helped.
Yeah, just make sure you're all up to date on your tetanus shots and vaccines.
That's it. The microwave might be on the concrete floor for a while, but hey.
Yeah, no, that's a great tidbit, Nick, for sure. Because I've definitely have had that conversation with people that have come and stay with me in my homes that, hey, these aren't forever homes. So this is why I'm doing what needs to be done, not necessarily what I want to do to make it beautiful. So
That's right.
I think that's great. That's great advice and a great little place for us to kind of wrap up and then dive into the next episode. So again, thanks to Clean Eats for letting us get some awesome guests. And tune in the next one, and you'll get everyone's contact information, Nick and Ryan, and then plus us. So we'll see you in the next one.
Definitely tune in. We're about to be talking about renovations and rentals. So definitely 2 topics you do not want to miss. So we'll see you guys on the next episode.